After Roe, conservatives set their sights on ending no-fault divorce laws. Yeah, so, okay. We know they want to get rid of gay marriage. They have explicitly said that they want to get rid of court protections for gay marriage and for interracial marriage. That was explicit. That's not like lefty analysis. That's like really, really, really straightforward. Um, they said it. Oh, look at this latest article title right here on the right. Why did Fox News cuck the tuck? We'll get there. Nice. Um, the God. Yeah. So I've said this before, right? But like marriage. Oh man, we're gonna get back to Engels here. Okay. So listen, if you want to get into like the origins of marriage and monogamy, this is an anthropological subject, right? We're going back thousands of years. And one of the, in my opinion, most compelling explanations for the origins of monogamy and marriages are of hierarchy and hereditary wealth transfers. Now, to be clear, okay, because everyone gets mad about this, all right, everyone gets mad, so I want to be really clear from the get-go, okay? There's nothing wrong with being monogamous. Some people, many people, just gravitate towards monogamy and have for as long as humans have existed, okay? It's not unnatural. It's not like a socio-political construct that's, totally artificial. Like, none of that, okay? But when I'm talking about monogamy, what I'm talking about is like the moral expectation that a person should have only one partner. The idea that that's like a default, natural, and moreover, morally necessary state of affairs. And, one of the more compelling, and Engels wrote on this, one of the more compelling narratives for how the idea of monogamy as an institution and marriage, which kind of, they're very related to each other, came to be a thing, was the idea of parentage, right? If you don't have socially enforced monogamy, you don't really know whose kids are whose, right? I mean, all the tribal hotties are banging around, babe. Okay, you're not. Listen, you may have slept with the 6'2" Amazoness baddie, all right, but you're not the only guy who did. Okay, it's creamy up in there. Who knows whose kids are coming out of who, right? But if you want to get hereditary with things, say you're a shaman or a tribal chief, or a or like a tribal chieftain or whatever, and you want to have kids who are, yours in a biological sense, you have to keep track of who's slamming who. And if you extend that, of course, like you can see a really obvious example of this would be the concept of bastard children and legitimate versus illegitimate heirs in European nobility, right? Because back in the days of like kings and queens, it was actually really important who in the royal family married who and who sired which children, because hereditary succession was used as the like direct logic of who got the crown. And, of course, people would invade and take over anyway. But, in a vacuum, at least, that was the system, a hereditary monarchy, which means that when the king inevitably slept around and had bastard children, they were, I think the term used by the British crown is legally dead, meaning that from a legal perspective, when it comes to the succession of at least the British crown, they did not exist. They were not viable candidates, So we have moved away from the monogamy as a social norm thing a lot in the past, like, God, 20 years? Seriously, a lot of it has just been dating apps. Like, so if you go on Tinder right now or Grinder or whatever else, okay, and you're young and you're in like a major city, okay, I swear to God, half the people my age or younger are ethically non-monogamous. Okay, people are getting around. And interestingly, people are having less sex than ever, which is kind of a weird and seemingly counterintuitive set of social patterns. But it is what it is. I'm sure that can be rationed out with or rationalized out with a bit of thought. But whatever. Okay, look. The point is that the increasing prominence of divorce, of people not getting married, of getting married later, of having fewer children, these change social patterns. And the patterns that conservatives really don't want to change have to do with the domination of women and the patriarchal family structure. And that's exactly what we're seeing here in an attack on both no fault divorce laws and contraception. See, the women's rights movements back in the 60s, they skyrocketed in prominence and effectiveness when the pill became a thing. Because as it turns out, it's actually a lot easier to be an independent girl boss when you don't get pregnant like every other time you have sex. I mean, condoms are a thing, but they're not as reliable, and people misuse them, and people just don't put them on and lie about it. Whereas the pill is, a bit more consistent. So the ability to independently control your fertility has been pretty important to giving women the ability to live more autonomous lives. Because otherwise, right, if you get pregnant, you don't want to have an abortion, which again, they also want abortion to be illegal. You're kind of saddled with the guy, right? Like, kids are really expensive. And I fully believe, by the way, that the conservative attack on affordable health care is always in part also been rooted on making childcare incredibly expensive, because that necessitates, pair bonding. It's really difficult to be a single parent. We're seeing this develop like really rapidly too, this attack on people's rights. I think in the absence of any coercive systems, like forcing people to stay together, or like economic incentives to stay married, I think that the number of people who could stay married for life, from like, I don't know, 25 to death, I think that's like 1 in 10 generously. And I don't think that's because monogamy is broken or anything. People just change as they get older. And the odds of two people changing and their lives coursing in the same direction, like keeping the same basic sets of values and compatibility, that's a pretty miraculous thing, to be honest with you. I have a lot of respect for that. I'm no cold-hearted bastard here. When I see old couples that are still clearly in love with each other, I think that's really, really sweet. I just don't think that's the norm, like, at all. I think it's okay. I'll say, I'll open to it. Obviously, children always benefit from having a stable household, but when it comes just to the parents, I don't think there's anything wrong with being married for a decade and then divorcing. Like, necessarily, I mean. If you're really good together for a decade, a whole decade of your life, your finite lifespan, a whole decade, and then things change and you split apart, that doesn't necessarily mean that things have failed, Obviously, the marriage thing, like till death do us part, kind of indicates that you're supposed to stay together forever, but it's like friendships. Friendships don't necessarily have to last your entire life. They last as long as they last, and as long as you got something from that, there's something of value there. Anyway, look, life is hard, and no set of legal or social institutions will ever change that.